Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Herb, would you?
Yep, Mr. Simons,
Here?
Mr. Boda,
Here.
Mr. Patsalis,
Here.
Mr. Horn,
Here.
Mr. Knotts.
Here.
Mr. Blackstock here, Cram excused.
Okay, thank you. Ralph, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to approving the agenda. I apologize, we have a few things that came in from the time the agenda went out, and I'd like to add them to new business. One being, add the building inspector to, as new business number 4. Two, add the cleaning of the hall increase as number 5. And number 6, I'd like to add the DPW operating position. And does anybody else have anything that they would like to add or delete from the agenda?
This item here would be banana calculation.
No, that's under the discussion of the water and sewer rates. If not, we would make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with those 3 changes.
I'll make that motion that we approve the agenda with the changes.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we approve the agenda with the 3 additions, no deletions. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of November 3, 2014.
If there are no corrections or deletions, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2014 as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we approve the minutes from November 3, 2014. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment, is there anybody that wants to speak about anything that's not on the agenda?
Good evening, gentlemen. James Lalonde with 2182 Bell River Road. I attended the last meeting here and enjoyed myself so much I thought I'd come back and say hello again. Listen, I've got a situation on Bell River Road of a neighbor that's kitty corner to me that's got well, the issue basically is the code enforcer. Either the code enforcer is not doing a job here that needs to have immediate attention to it, or is doing a job and can't get anything done because the codes are not strong enough. So I've got pictures for everybody that I'm going to give to Mr. Simon and can be passed around. If I could.
Yep.
And this is what you see in the photographs is what it's been in front of this home for months. And on top of that problem that you see is a continuation of trucks and cars that are parked on non-driveway land in any fashion they wish, and on also land that doesn't belong to the individuals. That would be an empty lot that's next door to me to the south, and it just needs attention. I mean, it needs.
We've been there before.
Okay, so either there's not enough strength in our codes, or, but there's a problem. I mean, the land next to me is for sale, and I have been told by a neighbor that a potential buyer walked away from buying it because of that look. I don't know what more can be said. As I said at the beginning, either this forcer, I found out about this enforcer last week, but I don't know what else to say to you, gentlemen. I mean, it is a problem. She is, I know, a single woman, a mother, taking care of a son, but there are able-bodied men that live there that can take care of that problem in the way it should be taken care of.
Right.
The way I would take care of it. I mean, there's a garbage green container that belongs to the previous collector that's full of garbage. There's tires, well, you see, there's fishing rods, there's a door, there's a clear plastic in front of the garage door. I mean, I don't know if there's someone living in the garage. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just know.
Well,
You see what it looks
I
like.
can send the code enforcer back over there, now that we have a complaint, another complaint. I mean, as we get the complaints, we send them over. If it's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, then we'll have to go to the police and ticket him and the attorneys and whatever it takes. I mean, if he's violating, then we're gonna have to correct it.
But it's not a he, it's a she. I mean, she's.
yeah, I don't
in
know.
in
I
this
don't know the
case,
people.
I know. But if any of you gentlemen could take a ride by this place and give it a more than just a drive-by, it would be appreciative.
And we could do that.
I don't know if I can stay for this whole meeting, but I do want to stay and find out more about this, and I'm concerned about it. And I'm concerned about it because it's doing more to me than I think it might be doing. It's, you know, there's people that are possibly passing me by who thinks this is not the place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not doing East China Township any good. But I found out there's a code enforcer, so I hope to
Yeah,
meet
he's
this
been there.
gentleman, or lady, whatever.
I think there's a pool in the backyard too.
There is a pool in the backyard, and there's equipment in the backyard, and there's horse trailers sometimes, and I think my 3 minutes are up, and I think I hopefully have stayed.
Okay, yeah, well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. and
Larry,
we
do you
will-
know if the code enforcer has gone out there before? He has?
Definitely.
Okay. I spoke with Mr. Lalonde during the week, and I tried getting a hold of Jerry Jones to see if he had gone out there or not, and.
I don't know if he's been out there recently, but
Yeah.
he's been out there in the past.
And you know, it's not
Year.
one of the blight things we've had in the past where, I mean, it's, you know, the grass is too long or the house. I think just a little tidying up would really benefit that, not only himself, but all the neighbors. It's just, there's a lot of junk laying there all around the house. It's just all around the house. There's a trailer in front there. And like you said, there's cars, sometimes you go by, there's 7 cars parked there. There's 3 on the grass and they're parked. So I don't think it's something that, they're unable to do, like Mr. Lalonde said. I mean, there's people in there that could possibly put that stuff and just hide it or put it away somewhere, right in the backyard. It's not a major thing, but if we could have Jerry just take a look at it.
We will. I'll have him do that tomorrow.
The trailer that's in the front, it extended, could somebody be living in it?
Yeah, not supposed to be.
Is that permissible?
No.
What's the address?
2521 Bell River Road.
Doors go down towards Marine City or
Yeah, you know where Transmontane lives? Right next door. 2 doors down.
The pictures,
Riverside.
Mr. Supervisor, the pictures, it appears that the garage has been altered. I wonder if we had a building permit for that.
Yeah, it's 2x4 in front of the door,
Back of the house?
front of the house.
Oh, that's the reason on the garage door. Yeah, that was not like it the last time I was out there. And I went in the garage because the gentleman has a handicap ramp in the garage. Couldn't get to it. So I gave them that one. And, now that's what they're doing, they're removing the garage door without permit.
I'm sorry, Jeff, what are they doing?
You can see the,
Yeah,
Eventually, they're framing in the garage door without permit. They haven't had-
So maybe that's a building violation too, James.
I'm the building inspector. At this point, with the number of times that Jerry has gone out, and I've been out there 3 or 4 times, and they're just not listening, it's time to write some tickets and move on with this.
Right. And we'll do
I feel
that.
sorry that they have a paraplegic son in the house, but if we're gonna help him out, we need to do this. We need to move this forward.
Okay, we'll address it tomorrow. And,
Gentlemen, I would stay, but.
you got your, what's your number, James? What,
And I got things in their car that need to get out of the car.
I say, what is your, number so I can call you back?
Oh, my cell is 313-801-1747.
1747?
1747.
Okay. All right, I'll get back with you.
All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Gentlemen, thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. C1, they got the October 2014 Marine City Fire Report. We got C2, the October 2014 Building Department Report. We got C3, the October 2nd, 2014 Beautification Committee Minutes. We have the C4, October 2014 Investment Income Report. We have C5, an employee thank you. We have C6, November 5, 2014 Historical Commission Minutes. And C7 is the October 2014 Estimated Revenue and Expenditure Report.
I have just one comment, and maybe we'll address it a little bit later with other things we're looking at on the water rate, but I just want to point out that as of this report, if you look on page 27, the water fund for the township is $21,414 in the hole. This is money we'll need to make up in
Right.
one way or another.
27.
Yeah, it's circled.
The other fund, the sewer fund, by contrast, is in fairly good shape. I don't know why it's particularly showing this. I didn't think it would get, I know that we're probably still getting summer water bills in, so that this might look a little bit better with another months of receipts, because even though it's cold now and nobody's using water, what they're getting billed for is the months back where they were using water, so it should maybe come up a little bit, but that is indicative that we need to do something in the water fund.
Correct.
I have no other comments.
Okay. So did somebody make a motion? or- Not yet? Okay. Any other questions on it?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll support.
Been moved and supported that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to disbursements, we have bills of $33,884.56. We have payroll of $17,208.58. We have ACH payments of $19,429.20. We have a tax account of $41,578.61 for a total disbursement of $112,100.95.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $112,100.95.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we pay the bills in the sum of $112,100.95. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Blackstock, yes. Knotts,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Petsalis,
Yes.
Boda,
Yes,
Simons.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, to reappoint Kazreen Allah to the alternate of the Beautification Committee through December 31, 2017.
I'll make that motion because she's pretty good at it.
Okay.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we appoint Allah to as an alternate to the Beautification Committee through December 31st, 2017. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're gonna discuss the water and sewer rates with the auditor, which the auditors presented to Stuart, Bove, and Whipple. And, what they did is, we have to have the, we have to get away from the minimum billing on the water and the sewer, mostly the sewer, but we figured we'd probably do both of them. The handout I gave you was just a little sketch of, just a ballpark idea of how to break this up to get into a ready-to-serve fee. What Stuart, Bove, and Whipple is asking is to do a study on this and get exact, these are just ballpark, just rough numbers on how we could get to where we gotta be. If you look at sheet 2, I believe is the water. If you look down in the lower right-hand corner, this is just one idea. I talked to Mr. Knotts, and he asked for some different ideas. So these are like a couple of different options here. One is if we just flat raise the rates per thousand, ballparks on what it would be. Excuse me, in order for them to do a study, they're estimated it's gonna cost between $7,000 and $9,000 to study this and get us exactly where we need to be. That'll be studying the water rates again, too.
I assume their idea is they have to raise the rates again.
Well, the idea, and Mr. Knotts, I've discussed some of this with him because he's shown quite an interest in it. To keep the water rates basically where they are today, maybe a slight increase, but we have to get the same revenue that we're getting today when we're all done with this, because we can't.
It's getting ridiculous. Every time I turn around, they're raising rates on sewer and water. Pretty soon we'll be up 100%.
What is your option to?
Well, I don't know. I've got
Yeah, that's what
something
I'm saying.
different.
I mean,
It's getting ridiculous.
our wages keep going up, the chemicals keep going up.
I understand all that, but it's just getting ridiculous. I mean, it's just,
I don't use the minimum rate. I know there's a lot of them that don't use it and they're having to pay that minimum rate. Now, I used 4,000 gallons on the last time and, that's $25 a gallon, or 1,000.
Yeah, that's what's driving this, is the fact that we're getting about 10% of our income on our water from people who pay the minimum rate but do not use the water.
That's right.
And the state has said we cannot do that anymore. So what we're trying to find is, what alternatives do we have? The one Stuart, Bove, and Whipple initially says, well, we'll just raise the rates to cover the difference. And that's a number in here. Another alternative is to use what many other communities use, and that's called a ready-to-serve fee. Everybody has to pay.
Ready to,
Serve fee.
Everybody pays a certain rate, depending on the size of your line coming into your house, every month, a flat rate. And then, in addition to that, you pay for whatever water. That's another way to do it.
so sewer raisers.
No.
No, you either cover the loss that we have for getting rid of the minimum rate, either by raising the rates or by establishing a ready-to-serve rate. The difference is a ready-to-serve rate, everybody pays it, not just the people who don't use water.
If you see the
Anyway,
ready to serve how it's
That's the best I can
graduates,
explain it.
it graduates up.
Numbers are what you gotta argue about.
But if you look at that lower left-hand corner on there, if we raise the ready to serve, then we would probably drop the price per 1,000 gallons. It's not quite $1. So it's gonna be equal distributing to cover like what Mr. Horn says there. He's using 5,000 gallons and paying for 9. So it gives us about a 10%. This is what we're generating right now. If we just billed everybody by the water, we would get 90%. So that, like Mr. Knott says, we're losing that 10% that you're paying for that 4,000 that you didn't use.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we have to make that up, and that's how they make that up. It's roughly $135,000, and if they put the ready to serve, similar to those,
Because we have a lot of people.
I guess I'm trying to explain it. What we're asking for now is, do we want Stuart, Bove, and Whipple to do this survey, this study for us? That's the question. Or do we
Larry,
want to try?
when we spoke earlier, you said that we're also open liability-wise if we don't.
Liability is what they said. There was a lawsuit in Lansing, I believe he told me, and you gotta do this right. You gotta make sure it's equal. We just can't pick a number, and we gotta be able to back our number up, whatever the number we pick for this ready-to-serve. We've gotta be able to justify that it's equal. That's why you see, like, if you got a 4-inch line, you're gonna be paying $280 a quarter. But by having the lesser per thousand, it could equal out to be the same, roughly the same as what they're paying now.
I believe Marysville has a flat rate.
Marysville does have a flat rate.
Port Huron does the same thing. In fact, it's been on all the papers. They just recently raised their
Yes, I see
ready-to-serve rate by $11.
Yeah, theirs is like $40 a quarter.
Yeah, they pay $40 a quarter for ready-to-serve. Their annual monthly rate is about $75.
Well, this would be the same thing they call the enterprise fund. You can't make a water and sewers like an enterprise fund.
Yeah, this would all be part of the
And
enterprise
you
fund.
can't make a profit.
No.
That's
Right.
correct.
So, people don't understand. I think a lot of people don't understand if it's an enterprise fund. They say, well, what does that mean? That means you can't make a profit.
No, we can't make no
Gotta
profit
come
on
out
this.
zero every year.
Right.
That's why we have to keep raising it, because our costs go up. We can't,
And it's not
mean-
fair, it's not fair to the people that don't use it. You use 3,000 gallons.
but you have the
You're-
potential
You're
to
paying
take,
$30 a thousand.
and with your line size, you have the potential to take as much water as you can get through that 3/4 or 1-inch line.
That's right.
And that's where the ready-to-serve comes in, like, the 12-inch line that we have. A lot of water can go through that 12-inch line. So,
yes.
we haven't even figured out where that one is.
I think we ought to contract with Beauvais and Whipple to work this out in detail that's legally supportable and to give us some options of what we can do to get rid of the minimum charge. I recommend at least three. One is a flat rate where you charge everything by the gallon. What would that number be if we had to do it? The second one, use a ready-to-serve rate that keeps our water rates and sewer rates exactly what they are today, but makes up the difference that we lose by getting rid of the minimum serve rate. And third, a reasonable minimum to serve rate that would result in somewhat lower water and sewer per 1,000-gallon rates that come up, that all have got to make the same total at the end. And I know maybe somebody else got some other ideas, but I think we ought to, if we had those three options, at least we can look at them.
Right now, it's not fair.
I don't think it'll ever come out fair to everybody, every resident.
It's not going to.
I don't think it won't be fair for every resident.
It'll be closer.
So is that a motion, Ralph, to do that? I like it. Or does somebody else want to make?
Have them
Have Stuart Beauvais and
wanna
Whipple
make sure-
do
provide a
this,
study
the study to see the ready-to-serve rate.
And we gotta do something.
Okay, I'll make it a motion to contract with Stuart Beauvais and Whipple to give us at least three options on the ready-to-serve rate for a cost not to exceed, what, $9,000? Is that what they said?
Yeah, it was 7 to 9, yeah.
Not to exceed 9,000?
Okay. Do we have a support for that?
I'll support it.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we contract with Stuart Beauvais and Whipple to come up with 3 plans or 3 options to our ready-to-serve plan for do we want to do the water and the sewer both? Is that what? I would think we should both of them while we're doing it.
Our current minimum rate applies both to water and sewer, so I would
Right.
say that.
And the water
if we're going to
dictates the sewer,
change
so.
our method of billing, we ought to do it for everything and not,
Okay.
Will that be included in the 9,000, or they can
we
charge
would
us
confuse
Yeah, I
the,
believe it's the whole thing was to do them both.
to do them both?
Right, but I can double-check that, but I believe
I
it was
think,
both.
if we had a billing that was different for water than for sewer, it would simply
Yeah.
confuse things.
Okay.
But that's my opinion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to go with Stuart Beauvais and Whipple. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Boda,
Yes,
Mr. Patsalis,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Knotts,
Yes,
Mr. Blackstock, yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to appointment of Kathy Blair to the Historical Commission through October 3, 2015. We have a vacancy on there, and she's shown an interest to be on it.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kathy Blair to the Historical Commission through October 3rd, 2015.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we appoint Kathy Blair to the Historical Commission through October 3, 2015. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business 4, we have the building inspector. It has to do with the decks. Mr. Notch, do you want to?
Yep. I just want to start this because I asked that we address this situation. It's come to my attention that our building inspector, Mr. Kern, issued a building permit, which was a serious violation of our ordinance, zoning ordinance. The permit number 56213, which included a second floor balcony on the home at 5415 Point Drive, which abuts the St. Clair River. The balcony extends beyond the building lines specified in section 480, attachment 1, note E of our zoning ordinance. And that states that the building setback as it relates to the yard along the St. Clair River shall conform to the setbacks established by existing structures and shall in no instance be less than the setbacks other required by the regulations for the concerned district. In establishing the setback based on existing structures, a straight line shall be drawn from the southernmost corner nearest the river on the building to the north, and from the northernmost corner nearest the river to the building on the south. Any new structures shall be built behind this imaginary line. While this particular part of the ordinance is also modified somewhat by section 480-80-E, which provides for a modest relief. And it reads, an open, unenclosed, uncovered porch or deck or paved terrace may project into a yard having a canal frontage for a distance not exceeding 12 feet, but this shall not be interpreted to include or permit fixed canopies. Such structures shall not exceed 2 feet in height except for railings which are required to meet code requirements, not to exceed 3 feet above the floor of the porch, deck, or terrace. Height shall be measured from the average grade along the building face, opposite and generally parallel to the canal frontage. These provisions are important in this particular area because of the value of the property. Much of the value of the property along the St. Clair River is in the view, the circumstances of the river. That's why we established that building line, and why, in my 15 years on the ZBA, it has been strictly enforced. We have had people had to move their house back 2 feet because they exceeded the line. And we have always prevailed in any legal dispute on this matter. I'm very concerned that now that we have one that has been issued a valid permit, that we're going to have more difficulty strictly enforcing this provision of the ordinance. Now, when Mr. Kern was questioned about this, he stated in the Planning Commission, as recorded in the Planning Commission minutes of 14 October, that it was his interpretation that the second floor balcony was permitted. Where both paragraphs 480, attachment 1E, and 480-E specifically state otherwise. Now, I've had this discussion with Mr. Kern before, several years ago, and it's Mr. Kern's job to enforce our zoning ordinance, not interpret it. Interpretation is the duty of the ZBA, who can refer serious problems with the zoning ordinance to the Planning Commission for resolution. In order to enforce the zoning ordinance, it's also his responsibility to be thoroughly knowledgeable with the zoning ordinance itself. Now, our township supervisor sought the opinion of our planner in this manner, and to paraphrase him, he says, we have no recourse against the current owner of the balcony because it wasn't constructed in accordance with a granted permit. The permit was in error, but according to the planner, this does not set a precedent to issue further permits violating a township ordinance. In my opinion, however, Mr. Kern has now made enforcement of this particular piece of the ordinance much more difficult. As a member of the ZBA, I've mentioned this is not the first time I've had conversation with Mr. Kern regarding whose responsibility it is to interpret the zoning ordinances. And what I ask is I ask the board to impress on Mr. Kern that we expect him to enforce our zoning ordinance. And finally, Mr. Kern is paid for his work as a building inspector with a percentage of the permit fees. It is my opinion that he should not be paid for permits issued in violation of the zoning ordinance, which he is supposed to enforce, specifically permit 56/2013. If he's already been paid for this, I would think he would need to reimburse the township. But before making any motions in this regard, I'd like to hear the opinions of the other board members in this matter.
Ralph, I was on the Board of Appeals quite a few years ago, and it wasn't too many years ago that the house to the north of that, they wanted to put a deck out on the upper deck, 6 feet out, and the Board of Appeals said no, they would not allow it because it was beyond the building line.
Well, I'm on the Board of Appeals now. Had that been brought to the Board of Appeals, that would have been denied. It exceeds the building line. That's what I'm trying to get a point is.
I'd like to
That's
make
very important.
one comment too, as far as what you said, Ralph. I'm the one that took it to the planning commission. I'm the one that called the planners. I didn't realize that I should have went to the ZBA, so that part was probably my error going there. I just assumed that that's where the direction I should go. I didn't know that I should. So that part of it was probably my error.
I understand. What I'm concerned about is Mr. Kern's comment that allowing the deck was his interpretation of the zoning ordinance. And what I'm saying is, that's not Mr. Kern's job to interpret the ordinance. His job is to enforce it. And if there's a problem, he wants a question, he can bring it to the ZBA, we'll give him an interpretation. That doesn't cost anybody $100. If the people want a variance or an exception to the zoning ordinance, then they bring it to the ZBA and pay the fee to get it. But my point is, I think we have to establish, if we have a building official, his job is to enforce the existing ordinance.
Number one, Ralph, that parcel of property is non-conforming in the first place. There's 2 dwellings on that same parcel of property. And I notice in the back dwelling, you have a concrete slab. Are they gonna add on to that?
No, that's-
Second dwelling or what?
That's for a boat to sit on.
Okay, well, if it's just for parking, well, that's okay. There's 2 dwellings on that 30-foot lot.
That back garage area, you mean?
That's not a garage. That's another dwelling. I lived next door to it years ago.
I've never known anyone to live in there, but
I
I
have,
assumed it was a garage.
they used to live in there.
Would you like to speak, Jeff?
It's got water and sewer to it.
You know, it's just one thing too, back when I bought my home, which is a couple 3 doors away from that one. When we bought our home, I had, not yet been on the township board, but, I came in and checked on it one time. I said, we had a much smaller deck. It was only like, 8 by 10, something like that. And I came in and I asked one time, I says, can I put a small roof over that section? For when they sit out there, if the weather turned bad, or whatever. And they told me there at the time, I said, flat, no. There's no way in the world I can do that, being on the river. And I says, okay. And then I see this other one go up, and all of a sudden I see the deck go up. And the guy's got this, the post for the deck, they're all, past that mark. And I thought, well, I was told no, he was told yes. The guy doesn't know the difference. The guy doesn't know he was illegal. So, am I gonna jump on him? No. But it's just that when I had that small deck, I was gonna, ask for a roof over it, and I was told absolutely not. I says, okay.
like to speak?
Would the board like to hear from me?
Yeah, want to go up to
Absolutely.
the podium?
I'm Jeff Kern, your building inspector. I won't try to make any excuses. I agree with Ralph, and I did have some counsel with Herb in this issue. And then this weekend, I took it upon myself to hire a planner who's been in the business for 40 years to write me a letter to bring to the board tonight. And we sat down and we went over the ordinance. And he said, Jeff, I'm not gonna give you the answer you wanna hear. And I told him, I says, Ken, all I wanna hear is the truth. I need to know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And he says, you're wrong. So, with that, I don't know why I didn't think of line of sight with that deck up above. It just didn't click in with me. So, I have no excuses I can make, and whatever the board decides, I am willing to accept. I mean, I know I'm wrong now. I still think that when I read 2 feet above grade, it doesn't address a second floor deck, but he explained to me that under the chapter exceptions, and as soon as he said that, my lights all went on for exceptions. It doesn't even have to be particular when it falls under exceptions. It can just be general. And what's written there is what's written there. So I have nothing else to throw an excuse out. I was wrong, and I apologize.
So where do we go from here with this? I mean, what I thought right away was the poles from the ground all the way up. That was but you've already admitted it's wrong, so what do we do now? What does the board want to do? What's that? Nothing you're saying?
Well, it does state that Ralph did read that it does not set a precedent. I mean, my main concern was I didn't want to have problems with other residents along that road that think that they can go ahead and do it, but we're not setting a precedent here, and we're trying to make that very clear. We're not gonna make a precedent. You know, Jeff admitted that he made a mistake on it, so we
And I
can't
will make
backtrack.
sure-
We can't backtrack. I mean, you can't, if he had a legitimate permit, you can't go tell him to take that permit down. I do agree with Ralph that if in the future something like this happens, that definitely the permit, you know, the fee that he would make or what he makes off it should not be allowed. But I think Jeff is, as he said, you know, he's gonna make sure that it doesn't happen again. But where do you go from here? I mean, we really can't backtrack. It's gotta be what we do moving forward.
We had a problem, probably 8 or 10 homes south of that years ago when Michael Cavanaugh was on the board. There was an addition put on in front of a house past the building line on the river, and that went to court and the township lost. They took that one, went into court, and the township didn't come out very good with it. It's still there.
Well, according to the planners, we have no recourse. That was, when I called the planners, I asked them for an opinion on that. And I had this discussion with Jeff, and they said, being as though the permit was issued, signed by the building inspector as a building permit, that there's really no recourse we could do on that house there. But we're not setting a precedence, and we just go along and enforce our code as it's written.
Just so I'm clear, because Jeff's come to us with some clarifications before on the planning commission. Is the proper procedure then to go to the ZBA before approaching the planning commission?
I can show you.
Just for clarification. I just, again, to add to it, it doesn't apply to the section that you had started with water frontage. But we have, with this issue, made a few minor changes to the plan or to the zoning ordinance that hopefully makes things a little clearer. Just
do you
by
mean minor?
changing verbiage, which has to do with clarifying a balcony and the definition of a balcony and how it is not allowed.
Well, they can have a balcony as long as it's set in
As long
behind
as
that
it's
12
within the
foot.
setbacks, which is how it's been clarified, so.
So, which,
Well, I'd like the board, I'm hoping that the board will tell Mr. Kern that his job is to enforce our ordinance, not interpret it.
I think he understands that
That's
now.
what we need.
I really wasn't trying to interpret, but I'm not gonna make an excuse that that's not what it was. You know, I just didn't get it right.
So does that sound?
Well, I was going to make a motion about, with regard to the fee Mr. Kern earned on 56/2/2013, but it's my sense that it probably would not be supported, so I will not make that motion unless someone else cares to do so.
But I think in the future that if you do make an error like that, that you shouldn't be getting paid for it.
And I would understand that.
I think I would entertain a motion about that. Then any future mistakes that you make from misinterpreting our ordinance, because you're not doing your job if you misinterpret it, you have to ask for the question, so. I would even make the motion that in the future, if you err in your building permits, giving your permits out, and it's the same instance as this, yeah, I feel bad that you admitted that you're wrong, but it's costing the township now. We look bad because we've got one in the township, or two, or whatever we have. I would say that you shouldn't get your inspection fee from that if you have another one of these issues like that.
For a permit that's issued in violation of the zoning ordinance. I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You understand that then, Jeff?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in, and I hope we're putting this matter to bed now, and we won't have any more of these.
I will need more time when I look at it.
Right.
You know, I just don't know how I missed that. You know, and I felt so strong about it,
Oh, yeah,
I
you-
talked with her.
yeah, you-
I talked with her.
You protested with
I
me about it.
hired a guy that I paid $45 for his hour to write me a letter to bring here. And he says, I can't do that, you're wrong. And, that made all the difference when he hit, you're dealing in this chapter of exceptions. There's no interpretation in there, these are exceptions. And, so, I understand, and I fully understand the board and what they wanna do.
And again,
Okay.
no precedents have been set by doing what we did.
No, we're not setting no precedents by allowing that one, because it was a mistake that was made, and it's not gonna happen
Get that
again.
in the minutes about the no precedent.
Oh.
More places we
Okay.
got it, the
You wanna
more
leave?
lawyers have to work
Thank you,
with.
sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, moving
Right,
on
Jeff.
to new business number 6, DPW operator.
I got a hall clean, you got
Cleaning
number
hall.
5.
Oh, excuse me, thank you. I missed it. New business number 5, the hall cleaning. We have a proposal from our cleaning company. They would like a modest increase of $25 per month, which is about 3%.
How
They've been
long,
wi- they've
how
been
long
wi-
have they been working at the present rate?
A little over a year,
She says 2 years here.
2 years, yeah,
Mark and I have cleaned the township hall, chapel, and schoolhouse for 2 years.
2 years, yeah. It's probably pretty close, yeah.
For 2 years at this,
At this rate.
at
that they've
this
been-
rate?
Was there a contract, let, 2 or 3 year contract for cleaning?
No,
the
I
hall?
believe it was just open-ended, like a monthly. I mean, the alternative would be to rebid it all out. They do a very, very, very good job. I mean,
You do a good
I was
job.
gonna ask if
They
we're
do an
satisfied
excellent
with it.
job.
We're happy with it?
I'm happy with it. I mean, we had to pay them extra one time to do this floor, but they're always doing things that they don't have to do. They went through and changed all the light bulbs, and
And they supply all the.
they do their cleaning materials.
And Larry, to be honest with you, to go out and rebid it, I mean, we can see last time we had it, they were,
Right.
it was $75 less than the previous contractor. And this was
Right.
2 years ago, they were $75.
They were 105 less than, was the next closest bidder.
Exactly. So I would make a motion that we give the extra $25 a month increase in pay for Kathy and Mark Blair, which will bring it to $370 a month.
I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we increase it $25 per month. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Knotts,
Yes?
Mr. Horn,
Yes,
Mr. Patsalis.
Yes.
Mr. Boda,
Yes,
Mr. Blackstock, yes. Mr. Simons,
Yes, motion carries. Now, moving on to new business, number 6, DPW operator. As you know, we hired an operator 3 weeks ago. That gentleman gave us a letter today saying that he is thanking us for the opportunity, but he has to move on. So with that, we received that this morning. I have it stamped. With that, we still have the other people that we interviewed. We have 2 candidates that were right there with them. They were all pretty equal. It was a hard decision to make. I would like to have a motion that we accept the resignation of Mr. Telto, and that we have the option to hire one of the 2 remaining people that were interviewed as the top 3 candidates. I didn't call any of these. I don't know if they're still interested, so I guess what I'm asking is if we can hire one or the other. I included their resumes in your packet, so you can look at it. If you guys have a preference, it really doesn't matter to me which one it is. The committee that was on that was Mike McLeod, Mike Schneider, and myself. Mike McLeod is deer hunting until, I believe, tomorrow night. So I would like to get his input on which one. I have a preference, but I guess I'm only one on the committee. I would like it to be, 2 out of the 3 anyways. So, but it will be one of these 2 candidates. These were our top 3, the one we had and these 2. So I guess a motion to accept the resignation and allow the township to offer it to either one of the second and third candidates, or second choice candidates. I mean, it was a shocker that he was leaving, so. And he did a great job while he was here, great guy.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation. And you want to give me a name? Brett?
Telto,
Brett
Brett Telto.
Brett Telko as operator at the DPW, and authorize Township Supervisor to offer the position to either Dean Malcolm or David J. Gilderston, who had previously interviewed for the job.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported that we accept the resignation and we make a decision on the 1 or 2. What we would probably do on that, Ralph, and the board would be, I'll have to contact one of these 2 tomorrow when I get a hold of Mike McLeod. And if one isn't, we'll go to the next one, but I will either do a phone survey with the board and let you know what we did. And then we can,
You and David Morse,
Mike McLeod,
Mike McLeod.
Mike Schneider and myself. And I'll let you know before I call him and tell him that he's got the job, and then he quits his job or gives us his notice or whatever. I would want to have the board approval. So we have the approval to hire one of the 2. Okay, any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're moving on to unfinished businesses. Excuse me, it's the purchase of the new DPW vehicle. I've got 3 bids. I asked for 4. After our last meeting, I went to Moran Chevrolet, and I went to the Chrysler dealer and St. Clair Chrysler dealer. I have no response from the Chrysler dealer. I hand-delivered it right to them. They didn't give anything back. I got the Red Holman, I've got St. Clair Chevy, and this is Art Moran's. This is how they sent it. I told them to send it sealed. They had a time, so they sent it this way. So I guess we'll open them and see where they're at, and then we'll decide if that's what we want to do.
Is this for a regular truck, or is this a dump
It's
truck?
A 4-wheel drive pickup
Pickup truck,
with a snowplow,
okay.
a 2500. I got 1 for a Chevy and 2 for GMCs.
Did you ever get one from Ford, from Bill McDonald?
Nope, they didn't want a Ford.
Well, who's running the township?
Well, I don't know.
Huh?
I went to the Chrysler dealer, they didn't even put an offer in. Do you want me to go get a Ford? I'll go get a Ford.
I would think that we probably should get one from every one of them.
Okay, well, I'll just leave this then. We'll do it next time, we'll table it.
Are you using the old vehicles to trade in, or?
No, we're not, we thought we would pass the trucks down because we're really hurting for a truck at the sewer plant. That one we got is pretty rough.
Have you ever thought of leasing them? Because once you lease them, why, you got, full warranty on them, service and all.
I don't know if they'll do that on a snow plowing truck. I don't know.
That I don't know.
I don't know.
Be
You know,
something
we
to
have
take
in
a
the
look
past,
at.
when we bought new trucks with DPW or the sewer plant or whatever. You probably remember this, I'm sure that Ralph remembers this, Don too, is that the old trucks we had, we put them, we made it known that we would sell the trucks to the highest bidder, if you will. And we accepted bids up until a certain age, sealed bids. And I think we sold, what, 2 or 3 trucks, I think, that way, that we had. And you could do that, Noah's with that with one, the old truck.
Well, one of the old trucks we have Ed using it to cut grass. It's pretty old. I think it's an 88 or 89 Dodge. The sewer plants the dump truck is really old over there. They don't even hardly want to use it.
How many trucks do we have, Larry?
I think there's like 6, counting the water plant, the sewer plant.
I know you got some for grass cutters, you got the DPW.
Well, they use the one that is leased to the park. They use that for the grass cutter. The one we want to get rid of is this Ford. It's one that was bought in '06, and it's got a mechanic's box on it. It's like a cabin
Okay,
chassis, and they
yeah.
put that with all the doors on it. The doors are all rotted right off of it. And we've got estimates to fix that box. How much money do we want to throw into it? They fixed them once, now they're gone, they
Not
need
a
to fix
96,
them
you
again.
don't put any money in the 96.
It's only got like 50,000 miles on it.
That's 18 years old.
No, this one is, an
Oh,
06.
I thought you said 96, okay.
But we do have some
Still
old
8 years
trucks, yeah.
old.
Yeah, I'll get the Ford, it's not a problem. But I don't know if these guys are gonna honor their quotes that much longer. I mean, we've held them off now 2 or 3 weeks, so if you want the Ford, we'll get the Ford. So it'll be.
Do you know how many miles a year they put on these trucks, Larry? Do you have any idea how many miles we're putting on them?
Well, he's got that 06 with 50,000.
Yeah, and they haven't really used the '06 much, cause they spruced it up and it's all rotten, so they don't wanna take it out in the weather, and
Other than the box, is it mechanically sound?
I think the
I mean,
truck
is
is
the
all,
cab
yeah.
and the body, other than the bed box?
I don't think so. It's only got 50,000 on it. It's only 8,000 a year.
Is it four-wheel, is it four-wheel drive?
No, that's not a
Means-
four-wheel drive, no.
Okay, so it's just a stripped out truck, so it couldn't be switched out. It's the box
So you'd have to
couldn't
buy
be-
a box and
It's
switch it
8,000
over.
a year, and on a lease, they allow you 10, so.
I don't know, I can check, I mean, it's a whole new ballgame, but I'll do it, that's what you want.
So
Okay, we'll
that's
table that, do you wanna make a motion to table that, somebody?
I'll make a motion, we table purchasing this vehicle.
We have a support?
Not support.
Been moved and supported that we table it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, next, moving on to announcements. The Township Hall will be closed November 27th and 28th for the Thanksgiving. The other big announcement, Point Drive Bridge will be closed for the winter. Not what I wanted to hear. I was called by Mr. Kurt Weston last Thursday, told me that the ground is unstable. They didn't feel that they could put the asphalt and the curbing in on the unstable ground, that they felt it wouldn't hold up.
They talking about from the bridge to the highway.
Both sides of the bridge, yeah, both of the approaches.
They explain what made it unstable?
All the wet weather we've had and the driving of the equipment back and forth, it got like jello, I guess.
Okay, so when this does eventually get installed, there's going to be some more major construction to remove bad soil and build it back up?
They thought it would settle, it would firm up as it settled, by being off it with the big equipment, that it would firm up.
They took the old road bed right out, and hauled sand in there, I don't know how many
I see
truckloads
all
of
that
sand
yellow
in
sand,
there
yeah.
full.
It wasn't what I wanted to hear.
walked it.
I asked them
It's
to
so-
leave it open as a gravel road, and they said it wouldn't work for them.
At least leave it for the residents.
So, I mean, all they can do is pass
I
along what
believe-
I was told.
I believe you could probably run over it right now, the way it is.
I don't know, I walked over it Sunday. I sank in, just about my ankles, just walking on the stone that they filled up to the edge of the bridge. It's soft.
Well, that's what that was the
They're
announcement they
saying,
made.
they're gonna put barricades up on both sides.
They told me they were gonna put, guardrail across both sides of it. Nobody will get across it.
Yeah, a lot of residents mad.
And I'm mad, but, what can I do? I mean, we can't dictate the weather. We did lose a couple weeks on it in the beginning with the water.
They started later than they were expecting.
Well, we had all that problem with the water line. I think the crew that was down there was doing a great job, and, I mean, what can we do if the ground is not stable? We don't wanna have a lousy job out of it, cause that'll be something we'll be fighting the rest of our, time
And that
here.
section from the bridge out to the highway, they're gonna.
That'll be curb and gutter,
Curb and gutter.
yep,
One of those St. Clair Highway.
so,
Well, something I didn't wanna hear, I'll tell you.
yeah, that's,
Cuts the traffic down on Point Drive, but,
yeah, but it's a big inconvenience to a lot of people.
I drive now, big circuit, you know, where you go to 29.
Okay,
Inquiries to the super-
that concludes the announcements. Board comments, Mr. Horn?
Yeah, I got one. I was out Ricoh Road, and over on Bryson Lane, and if there's a chance, before the cold weather gets, they could use some good grading,
They were done Friday.
were they?
Well, Bryson Lane was
I
done.
was just out there today on Ricoh Road. wasn't I?
Bryson was done Friday, not
Okay.
Ricoh Road.
I
But
didn't
I'll,
know.
I'll mention Ricoh.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting a lot of potholes in it.
Yeah, Bryson's been really good.
Well, see, I went down there Wednesday or Thursday, it wasn't done, so.
No, they did it Friday, cause I
You're ahead
had
of
called
me.
them again, and
You're ahead of me, Larry.
Yep. I had called them, I think I called them last Monday, and then they said as soon as they
Yeah,
got
they
out
had-
there.
they
And I
had-
called them again Friday, and then he said they're there.
They had a bad spot right at the
Curve,
beginning,
yeah.
big hole.
Yeah, that's that wet spot there. Anything else, Mr. Horn?
That's it, that's all I have.
Mr. Patel?
I was just wondering if we could get an updated version of the addresses of all, they used to give us the addresses of all the board members and the
Oh, yeah.
Jerry Jones and all the officers and different personnel.
Roster sheets.
Yeah, roster sheet, if we can get an updated one on that. I still have, mine's pretty old.
Yeah, I don't even know where mine is.
Of all the phone numbers is what you want?
Yeah, it lists everything, it lists all the
Yeah, I got a new one.
beautification.
Sandy Doctor made one.
Yeah,
that's
lot
right.
split board, it lists
Mine
everything.
still says Jack for supervisor.
Oh, well, throw that one away. Okay. Anybody, Mr. Bowden?
Just a couple of things. One is I'm sorry to see what happened to Marine City this past week, losing. And they still had a good season, and I'm sure they wanted to go a lot further. And my disappointment with the bridge. Not gonna be open until next spring sometime. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Bowden. Mr. Blackstock?
Actually, this is our last meeting. I just hope everyone has a nice holiday next week. It's next week, right?
Yep,
Happy Thanksgiving.
thank you. Mr. Knotts?
Yeah, just one thing, there's the lady that is to the south, immediate south of the bridge under discussion. We need to make sure that when the contractor, the county seals that bridge up, that they fix it so she can get in and out of there easily.
We're
The
gonna
one to
do
the
a-
north, the one to the north has fairly easy access.
We've
Once you
been
mo-
working with her real
Yeah,
closely.
once you move the backhoe, but the one to the south, will require a little bit of work to make it so that she can get in and out of there in the winter.
What we're gonna do with that, Ralph, is we're gonna get a grading permit from her, and we're gonna go back into her property about 10 feet. And then they're gonna, to decrease that slope
Okay.
coming up.
Are we gonna do that now, or is that a
Probably,
spring
no,
job?
I asked that, I think we probably won't do that till spring.
What I'm
gonna
saying is,
make sure-
over this winter, we need to do something, make so she can get in and out.
Yeah, we'll make sure, okay, yeah, I'll check on that, that's Donna.
And happy Thanksgiving for everybody, since we won't have another meeting till then. That's all I have.
Okay, and I don't have much other than, I'm sorry about Marine City, and everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. And sorry about the bridge.
I got one more, Larry. I went up on, Margaret or Oakland, and that ditch is cleaned out, but there's water laying on the east side of the tube that they put under the road because the drain commission hasn't cleaned that other part out.
I've already talked to the drain commissioner, and they're gonna get on that, and they said, being as though the township supervisor called the draining commission, they're pushing that up. I said, I'd like to get that. If that's part of the Hathaway drain, that's what started it,
Yeah,
and they haven't cleaned that northern section of that out.
they clean that out, that'll drain that. It's nice
And that's what I asked to have done, and they pushed that up on the priority. I don't know when it's gonna get done, but they said they pushed it up, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I went by there, that whole tube was full of water.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so other than that, I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:32.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we adjourn at 8:32. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, thank you.